1607, a British archaeologist named Aurel Stein was digging through the ruins of a Chinese watchtower in the Gobi Desert, 90 kilometers west of Dunhuang. Inside, he found a leather mailbag. It had been sitting there for 1,600 years. The bag contained letters, written on paper in a language nobody alive could read. It took decades to decipher them. When scholars finally translated the script, they found the voice of a woman named Mune. Mune was a merchant's wife. Her husband, Nanaidat, had brought her from Central Asia to China and then vanished. She was stranded in Dunhuang, a frontier town at the edge of the known world. She had no money, no way home. Her daughter was becoming a servant in a Chinese household. In one letter to her mother, she begged for rescue. In another, addressed to her missing husband, she wrote, "I would rather be a dog's or a pig's wife than yours." That letter never reached Samarkand. The mailbag was confiscated or lost, or simply forgotten in a watchtower in the desert, and Mune disappeared from history. But her letters tell us something extraordinary about the people who controlled the most dangerous trade route in human history. People most of you have never heard of. The Sogdians, and you are about to become one. It is 570 AD. You are 34 years old. You were born in Samarkand, the greatest trading city in Central Asia. Your father was a merchant. His father was a merchant. You have been trained for this since the day you could walk. The Chinese have a saying about your people. When a Sogdian boy is born, his mother puts honey on his tongue so he will speak sweetly, and glue on his palm so that money will stick to it. They mean it as an insult. You take it as a compliment. You are Sogdian, an Iranian-speaking people from the fertile Zarafshan Valley in what is now Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. You have never built an empire. You have never conquered a city. Your people live in a loose network of independent city-states, Samarkand, Bukhara, Panjikent, Kesh, more like Renaissance Italian merchant republics than a unified nation. But for the past 2 centuries, your people have quietly become the most important commercial force on Earth. The Chinese Book of Sui describes your people simply skilled merchants. That is an understatement. From the 4th century to the 8th, Sogdians dominate the overland trade routes so completely that in the Kingdom of Khotan, the local word for merchant is Suli, which literally means Sogdian. You are not a type of merchant, you are the definition of one. Your language, Sogdian, is the lingua franca of the entire Silk Road. Every trader, every caravan master, every tax collector from Persia to China speaks at least a few words of it. You speak 5 languages fluently. You read and write in 3 scripts. You worship Ahura Mazda, but your wife prays to Nana, the 4-armed goddess, on her lion throne, carved into the wooden panels of your family shrine. You can discuss Buddhism, Christianity, and Manichaeism with equal comfort, because a man who offends a customer's god is a man who loses a sale. At night, around the fire, you tell your children the story of Rustam the hero who defeated the demons of the mountains. You do not know it yet, but 4 centuries from now, a Persian poet named Ferdowsi will write that story down in the Shahnameh. The tale will survive. Your language will not. You are the ultimate middleman, and today, you are leaving home. Before you leave the gates of Samarkand, you must assemble something that looks less like a trade mission and more like a small army. 40 Bactrian camels. These are not ordinary animals. The 2-humped Bactrian camel is the greatest piece of biological technology on the Silk Road. It can carry 200 kilograms of cargo. It can survive temperatures from -30 to +40. It can go a week without water. And when water does run out, it can smell a subterranean source from kilometers away. You will stake your life on that last ability before this trip is over. You hire 12 armed guards. Not soldiers, freelance mercenaries, most of them Turkic, who know the mountain passes and who will fight if necessary, but who mostly serve as a visible deterrent. You hire 2 guides who navigate by the stars, because in the Taklamakan desert, the sand dunes migrate with the wind and erase physical landmarks overnight. You hire a translator who speaks the local Turkic dialects, because 2 years ago, the Western Turkic Khaganate took control of the routes north of the Pamirs, and their toll collectors do not negotiate in Sogdian. Your cargo: blocks of raw lapis lazuli from the mines of Badakhshan in Afghanistan. Sasanian silver coins, the most widely accepted currency on the Silk Road. Bolts of fine dyed linen. Small sealed jars of musk sourced from Tibet, and blown glass vessels from the workshops of Syria, objects so alien to the Chinese that they will pay absurd prices for them. The journey to Dunhuang will take 3 months. If nothing goes wrong, something always goes wrong. The first thing that tries to kill you is the sky. To reach the eastern markets, you must cross the Pamir Mountains. The locals call this the roof of the world. It is where the Himalayas, the Tian Shan, and the Hindu Kush collide in a massive tectonic knot of rock and ice. The passes exceed 4,000 meters. The air is so thin that your strongest men gasp after a few steps. The headaches start within hours. Some of your guards vomit. One of them bleeds from the nose and does not stop for 2 days. The path is not a road. It is a ledge. In places, it is barely a meter wide. On one side, a vertical rock wall. On the other, a drop of several hundred meters into a gorge you cannot see the bottom of. There are no guardrails. There is no rescue. Xuanzang, the famous Chinese Buddhist monk who crossed these passes a century after you, will describe the experience in terms that amount to sustained terror. You lose 3 camels. 2 step onto black ice hidden beneath fresh snow. They slip, panic, and slide over the edge in complete silence. The 3rd breaks a leg on loose rock and has to be cut loose from its cargo and left behind. That is roughly 600 kilograms of trade goods gone. You do not stop to calculate the loss. You redistribute the remaining cargo across surviving animals and keep moving. If you stop here, the cold will kill you in your sleep. Archaeologists have found the preserved remains of ancient caravans in these passes. Men and animals frozen mid-stride, their goods still strapped to their backs. Perfect preservation through perfect cold. You push through the night. You force your men to walk when they want to sit. You threaten, you bribe, you lie about how close the descent is. And eventually, you breach the pass. The air thickens. The wind drops. Below you, a vast shimmering basin stretches to the horizon. You feel no relief, because the mountains were the gatekeepers. What lies ahead is the actual test. The Taklamakan Desert. The ancient Chinese called it the Sea of Death. The name translates, depending on the source, as either you go in and you don't come out, or the place of no return. The translations disagree. The meaning does not. The Taklamakan is roughly the size of modern Germany. It is not a flat expanse of sand. It is an ocean of shifting dunes, some exceeding 300 meters in height, that migrate with the wind and redraw the landscape constantly. During summer, ground surface temperatures can reach 70 degrees Celsius. That is hot enough to blister bare skin on contact. You cannot cross it directly. Nobody does. To attempt a straight crossing of the Taklamakan is suicide. Instead, the Silk Road skirts the desert's edges, hopping between oasis towns that survive on glacial meltwater running off the surrounding mountains. Khotan on the southern rim, Turfan on the northern rim, Dunhuang at the eastern exit. These are stepping stones of life in an ocean of nothing. Your survival depends on mathematics. Your camels carry goatskin water bags. The volume is calculated against the distance to the next oasis, the season, and the pace of the caravan. You travel at night, guided by stars. During the day, you pitch canvas shelters, press yourselves into the shade, and try not to move. On the 9th night, the wind changes. It stops being weather and becomes a wall. The Burin, a massive dust storm born in the basin's heart, hits the caravan like a physical blow. The sky turns black. A wall of sand, hundreds of meters high, swallows the stars. You force the camels to their knees. You bury your face in wool and press flat against the animals. For 12 hours, you cannot move. The sand strips exposed skin. Breathing becomes a negotiation. When the storm passes, the landscape is unrecognizable. Your landmarks are gone. The storm has cost you a full day. Your water mathematics no longer work. This is where the Bactrian camel earns its place in history. When your lead camel suddenly veers north, ignoring your reins, you do not fight it. You let the animal lead. It can smell subterranean water from kilometers away. A day later, with the water bags completely flat and your men silent with dehydration, you see it. Green poplar trees breaking through the yellow haze. The mud walls of a caravanserai built around a deep well. You survived the Taklamakan. You collapse at the well's edge and drink until your stomach aches. But as you enter the dark interior of the caravanserai, you realize the desert was not the worst of it. The worst of it is inside, watching you count your cargo. You push through the night. You force your men to walk when they want to sit. You threaten, you bribe, you lie about how close the descent is, and eventually, you breach the pass. The air thickens, the wind drops. Below you, a vast, shimmering basin stretches to the horizon. You feel no relief, because the mountains were the gatekeepers. What lies ahead is the actual test. In 570 AD, the Western Turkic Khaganate controls the territory between the Pamirs and China. They do not build cities, they do not weave silk, they do not forge coins. What they do is extract wealth from the people who do, and they are spectacularly good at it. 2 days out of the oasis, they find you. It happens without warning. The ridgeline above fills with mounted archers, composite bows drawn, the deadliest ranged weapon in the 6th century, accurate at 100 meters, capable of punching through leather armor. They have the high ground. They have the numbers. Your guards draw swords. You immediately order them to lower their weapons. Fighting here is for dead men. This is where being Sogdian saves your life. You speak Turkic. You have been speaking Turkic since you were 12. You step forward with empty hands and you negotiate. You do not call it robbery. You call it a toll. You refer to the chieftain's territory as magnificent lands and to his men as distinguished warriors. You produce a heavy leather pouch of Sasanian silver coins and 2 bolts of your best dyed linen. The chieftain weighs the silver, examines the linen, nods. His riders lower their bows and vanish back into the steppe. You have just lost roughly 10% of your expedition's value. Your guards are furious. You tell them to shut up and keep walking. Because the Sogdian merchant's greatest skill is not buying low and selling high. It is knowing exactly how much money it costs to stay alive and paying it without hesitation. This is the skill that made your people indispensable to the Turks. When the Göktürk Khaganate rose to power, it was Sogdian merchants who became their diplomats, their tax collectors, their translators. The Turks conquered Sogdiana half a century ago and discovered they could not run an empire without you. 2 years ago, a Sogdian named Maniakh led the Turco-Sogdian embassy to Constantinople. He negotiated a direct silk trade agreement with the Byzantine Emperor Justin II, bypassing the Sasanians entirely. The 6th century Greek historian Menander Protector recorded it. That is the Sogdian way. You do not fight empires. You trade with all of them simultaneously, and make sure every single one needs you more than you need them. 3 months after leaving Samarkand, you reach Dunhuang, the last major oasis before the Chinese interior, the gateway between Central Asia and China. In 570 AD, China is not a single unified empire. It is fractured into rival northern and southern dynasties, Northern Zhou, Northern Qi, the Chen in the south. The Tang dynasty will not unify the country for another 50 years. This makes things complicated. It also makes things profitable. Divided kingdoms are desperate kingdoms, and desperate kingdoms pay premium prices for foreign luxury goods. Dunhuang is a Sogdian town as much as a Chinese one. There are Sogdian merchants living here permanently, Sogdian temples, Sogdian wine shops. A Sogdian who wrote the Ancient Letters 2 centuries before you was based in a town just like this, running a trade network that stretched from here back to Samarkand. You unload your camels in the merchant quarter. You spread your goods on thick carpets. The lapis lazuli, the glass vessels, the frankincense, the musk. To the Chinese buyers, these are exotic artifacts from a mythical Western world they call Da Qin. You trade them for the reason you nearly died a dozen times, silk. But you are not buying finished garments like an amateur. You buy raw silk thread by weight. You buy bolts of patterned damask. You buy compressed bricks of tea and bundles of fine paper, materials that the West has barely heard of but will soon crave obsessively. Some of the silk carries a pattern your people have made famous. Animals facing each other inside beaded circles. Pearl roundel designs. You do not know it, but a fragment of this exact pattern will end up 14 centuries later in the Cathedral of Basel, Switzerland, wrapped around the bones of a Christian saint. The people who put it there will have no idea where it came from. You would find that funny. You also do something that no historical chronicle records, but that archaeologists have confirmed. You invest in property. Sogdian merchants across the Silk Road bought houses, shops, and land in the oasis towns they frequented. You are not just passing through, you are building infrastructure. Every oasis with a Sogdian community is a node in a network that spans 3,000 miles. Your bags are full. You are carrying a fortune. Now you have to get it home. The return is always worse. Every bandit between here and Samarkand knows that caravans heading west are carrying silk. Silk is lighter than lapis lazuli, but infinitely more valuable. You are now the richest target on the road. Another 3 months, another crossing of the Taklamakan, another ascent into the frozen Pamirs. You lose 2 more camels. One guard deserts in the night, taking a camel loaded with tea. You do not pursue him. The tea was not worth the delay. 6 months after you left, you lead your surviving camels through the gates of Samarkand. You are thinner, grayer. There is a new scar on your left hand from a rope that snapped under load in the Pamirs. You sell the Chinese silk to Sasanian and Byzantine traders in the Samarkand markets. The markup is between 300 and 500%. The Byzantines will carry it to Constantinople, where the emperor will pay its weight in gold. You will never see Constantinople. You do not need to. That is what middlemen are for. You commission a mural for your house. Archaeologists will find murals exactly like it in Panjikent and Afrasiab vivid wall paintings showing Sogdian merchants feasting, trading, hunting, and worshipping. These are not royal commissions. They are the art of a merchant class wealthy enough to decorate their homes like palaces. The Sogdians never built a famous empire, so historians mostly ignored them for centuries. There is no Sogdian Alexander, no Sogdian Caesar. The Sogdian contribution to world history was invisible precisely because it was everywhere. Sogdians translated Buddhist scriptures that spread the religion eastward into China. Sogdian merchants introduced wine culture to Tang Dynasty China and ran most of the wine shops in Chang'an. New beverages called for new drinking vessels. Chinese artisans began copying Sogdian cup designs with fluted bodies and ring handles, a style so popular that an exquisite golden example ended up on a shipwreck off the coast of Indonesia. The Sogdian whirl dance became so popular in Chinese courts that noblewomen adopted Sogdian men's fashion. caftans, boots, and narrow-sleeved jackets. Chinese potters made ceramic figurines of Sogdian traders, paying careful attention to their foreign features and the heavy loads on their backs. Sogdian diplomatic networks connected the Byzantine Empire to China decades before the Tang dynasty existed. And then they vanished. In 712 AD, Arab armies conquered Samarkand. The new rulers offered tax breaks to anyone who converted to Islam and made life impossible for those who did not. Within 2 centuries, the Sogdian language was dead, replaced by Persian. The Sogdian identity dissolved into the cultures that surrounded it. But in a remote valley in Tajikistan, a people called the Yagnobi still speak a language descended from Sogdian. And in museums from London to Beijing, the letters of Menander and Nanai Vandak sit behind glass, the only surviving words of ordinary people who lived and traded and suffered on the most dangerous road in human history. Menander never got her letter delivered. Nanai Vandak never heard from his business partners. Their mailbag sat in a watchtower in the desert for 16 centuries, waiting for someone to listen. We think history was made by men with swords and crowns. It was not. It was made by people like you. People with ledgers, with camels, with 5 languages, and the willingness to walk into a desert that locals called the place of no return. The monumental technologies that built the modern world, paper from China, mathematics from India, gunpowder, new religions, did not travel across continents because emperors commanded it. Emperors rarely left their palaces. These ideas moved because someone strapped them to the side of a Bactrian camel and risked everything. The Sogdians were the veins of the ancient world, and they earned every single coin. Could you have survived 6 months on the Silk Road? Tell me in the comments, and please subscribe if you enjoyed.